IT, language and information technology. Previously, we have looked at corpus linguistics. We defined what a corpus is, and also we had some ideas about a corpus. Just to remind you, a corpus is a collection of language data. Either we have some conversations or interviews recorded in some place for analysis. We analyze these interviews, conversations for different purposes, or sometimes it could be written. We collect some essays, some articles from students, from newspapers, from different people, just to have them in one place, stored in one place, and then we analyze what we want to analyze. This is a corpus linguistics. Today we are going to talk more about corpus linguistics so we can understand what it really is. So corpus linguistics. The current general corpus issues, the latest trend in corpus linguistics today will be explained. Corpus versus introspection. Is there a separate corpus linguistics? This is very, very important, the difference between a corpus and introspection. With introspection, you try to investigate different ideas, different issues. But as I said, in a corpus, no, we collect all of these data and store them in one place. There is a big debate between different researchers about, is there really a separate corpus linguistics? The debate starts from the idea that some people would say, well, if we want to describe language, we go to native speakers. Native speakers are the best people in the world to explain their language. So if you want to ask something about Arabic, go to Arab people and ask them. For example, if you want to know something about Jam' al-Mudhakkar Salim or al-Muthanna, go to Arab people and they will explain it to you. You don't need a corpus to analyze it and then to get an answer. So this is their claim. So the first claim is go to native speakers. Native speakers, they are the only people, capable people to judge or to explain their language. Other people would say, no, we don't want native speakers' judgment because we are not sure about how reliable their answers is, or how reliable their answers are. We need something scientific, experimental. We want something authentic, natural, coming from the daily life of people. How? Through corpus linguistics. Because a corpus is a good representation of the daily life of people. So, which is better? You go to native speakers, and it's very unlikely to get an authentic answer, or you go to something more authentic, more natural, which is a random selection of people's speech or people writing, and then you can get a real answer from that corpus. We will see later, inshallah, maybe in lecture number 11, that a very good example is to use a corpus is, for example, to distinguish between synonyms. Let's say that you have 3 synonyms, reason, and purpose, and cause. These are very likely to be synonyms: reason, purpose, and cause. So you want to know the difference between these 3 synonyms. How? You have different ways. One way is to consult a dictionary. You look up them in a dictionary. This is number one. But sometimes a dictionary cannot give you the differences between these three synonyms. You will read their meaning with some examples, but the dictionaries do not tell you about the exact differences. So it's not sufficient. It's not enough to to sorry to sorry. So it's not enough to quench your thirst about how these synonyms differ. So dictionaries is not a good option sometimes. You go ask a native speaker, yes, he can give you an answer, but how about you go to a corpus and then you you look for all the examples in the corpus about cause, purpose, and reason, and you can analyze all the different uses of these three synonyms, and then you can come up with your own judgment and with your own differences about these three synonyms. So this is the big debate of a corpus linguistic. Is there a separate corpus linguistic? Do we need a corpus linguistics, or introspection and research is enough for us? Let the data speak for itself. Sinclair is a famous name in linguistics, so he would say, let this data speak for itself. Yes, let the corpus speak for itself. We don't need artificial judgment or artificial descriptions, so let the data speak for itself. From the data you would find everything. Why? Because this is the actual use of the language coming directly from people. I language versus E language. Chomsky. Chomsky is a big name in linguistics as well. So he's talking about, do we need an I language, artificial language, or do we need electronic language coming from from this corpus linguistics? Missing context, intention, ethnographic information, third person, not first person view. Widgeson, one of the also famous names. He's not favoring corpus linguistics because in corpus linguistics he says there is missing context. We don't have the full context. The intention, we don't know the intention of these sentences. Ethnographic information, yes, ethnographic means you need to search for findings, search for results. You don't have a set of hypotheses. You just go and find some interesting ideas from your search. Third person, not first person view. Well, yes, all of the views in the corpus linguistics coming from third person, from other people, not from your own view. Corpus cannot show that what does not occur or all that can occur. This is very, very important. If we collect a corpus, this corpus is not covering all the language instances. So this is very important. This is one of the limitations of corpus linguistics, that it cannot cover all what can occur and also what does not occur. So there is something missing. It cannot represent all the examples, all the language instances, all the language phenomena. It lacks this kind of coverage, covering what does not occur or all what can occur. It only collects some examples. So there is kind of limitation of corpus linguistics. Introspection may be surprised by what does occur. Yes, your introspection, your research might be surprised by the findings that you would get from the corpus linguistics. Areas of language that corpora do not illuminate. This is also very, very important. Another limitation that corpora cannot cover all the areas of language. One of them is language testing. It's sometimes difficult to absorb or to observe what happens in a language testing context. It's very easy to collect students' assignments, homework, or tests, but sometimes, for example, like IELTS or TOEFL, they are confidential. We cannot access them. Size of corpus and individual word frequency, how big should it be? This is a very important question. How big should be the corpus? Shall we collect only, for example, 10 conversations and 10 assignments, 10 essays? Is that enough? Or do we need millions of assignments, millions of conversations to have a good corpus? Very, very important. We need to decide from the beginning. If you want to do your own corpus, it's very easy. Collecting data is very easy, but then storing them is the most difficult step. Cost effectiveness. More running word does not give more different words proportionally. This is very important. Cost effectiveness. It's going to sometimes to cost you money to have a corpus, collecting the data. Sometimes you need to travel to collect data. Sometimes you need other equipment to analyze or to enter the data into your corpus. If there are conversation, you need to listen to the conversation interviews. You transcribe them. It needs time. It needs computer. It needs sometimes a special software for transcription, and a lot of costs involvement. 10-20 hours to process 2,000 words of speech. This is another issue. Sometimes you need 10 to 20 hours to process 2,000 words of speech. If you have a corpus, sometimes you need that time to process that number. Just because a population is vast does not mean samples have to be vast to be representative, as some may think. Depends on features, feature of interest, and variability, word frequency problem. Not because in Saudi Arabia we have, for example, more than 20 million people, does not mean that we need 20 million telephone conversations or normal interviews. No, we need to be adequate, and we need to be precise in selecting what is representative. One way to do this is to take random samples from each city or from each area, and that would be enough. But back to the question, how big, how many you need to collect from each area. Static or dynamic corpora? Do you want to have it as static corpora or dynamic that you can manipulate, you can add to it? This is more sophisticated, has to do with IT, but we don't want to get into it. Sampling and how to be representative of general English. Any collection of text is not a useful principled corpus. We have different problems with that. So again, sample. How you are going to have your samples from from that population to be representative of, for example, general English language. So any collection of texts is not representative. You need to study them very well to suit your purposes. Opportunistic, biased to written, accessible varieties. Well, you have to be opportunistic. Give different opportunities for your corpora, not biased only to written, but also include spoken data, interviews, as I said, conversations, conversation from telephone calls, from the TV, from radio, and etc. So accessible varieties. So you have different varieties from TV, radio, internet. Systematic, balanced, and representative, a corpus of corpora. Yes, it needs to be systematic. You should have a system, not a haphazard selection. Balanced, as we said, not having too many of written corpora versus spoken. Representative, we talked about representative a minute ago. Exclude non-standard. Do we need to exclude non-standard? For example, English language, like slang language, street language. Do we exclude them or include them? If we include them, this is one way of admitting that street language or slang language is becoming a part of the English language. So we need to think of it. Do we include or exclude non-standard languages? What national varieties? We have different accents. We have sometimes different varieties in the country. Hijazi accent, Assyri accent, Southern accent, Qasimi accent, Eastern, Northern accent. What national varieties do we include? All of them or some of them? How far back? Well, do we include, for example, data from 100 years ago, or 10 years ago, 50 years ago, or just 1 week ago? We need to decide on that. This is very important, and they are all related to be systematic. So all of this is building a system for you if you define all of these steps. What proportions of varieties? If you have different varieties, what proportion for each variety? Speaker writer factor as well. Demographic problem, more with written than spoken. L1 from name, addressee. This is very important. If you have, for example, a lecturer, a speaker, someone is lecturing, and you want to have his lecture in your data, you need more information about the lecturer, demographic information, also the writer factors, their language proficiency level, their age, their background, etc., because this is going to help you later. Then random selection. Yes, I would say random selection is a better choice. Stratified sampling. What varieties? So either you have random selection or stratified sampling, and also again back to the questions, which varieties you are going to include. With random selection, you don't need to specify the varieties because it is random. Weighing by how much read, or by influence, expert judgment. This is one way to select. If you are going to include, for example, articles, how much or how many times these articles were read. This is one way to select your written samples. Or the influence of these articles. Sometimes you have influential articles. You need expert judgment to help you with this. Even genres like academic writing are not homogeneous, depend on sub-discipline, business and economics, computing and physics. Genre within sub-disciplines, review, report, even the lecture being written for. So if you have genre like academic, you want to select samples from academic writing, better you go to these sub-disciplines. You would say, well, I would have data from computer assignments, or from computer students, or from computer lectures, or economics, or business. And sometimes you would say, well, no, I would have economic students, their reports. So you choose from a sub division of the sub-discipline. How to sample each text and sample size again. Copyright issues, very important. We go to the how big a question again, and copyright issues. You need to take the copyright to select your data. You cannot just take articles. You need, if these articles are copyrighted, you need to take the copyright first before you include them. Spoken, how natural are speeches, TV, etc. Again, I talked about this. If you want to select spoken data, how authentic, how natural do you want it? From TV, from radio, from internet, from telephone calls. Fully natural, observes paradox and how to be ethical, permission, Labov's tricks. If you want it to be fully natural, you would say, for example, I'm going to record people telephone calls. You have a problem. You need to take their permission. And if you tell them that you are going to record them, it's not going to be fully natural, because maybe they feel embarrassed, or they feel shy, or they feel not having the freedom to speak to the other party. And is it ethical to do this in your country? In some countries it's not ethical. Records of speakers and addressees, blah blah blah. We talked about this. You record their speech. Transcription issues, I talked about this. If you have spoken data, you need to transcribe them. What to transcribe and who does it, expert or not. Very important. If you want to transcribe the records that you have, are you going by yourself to transcribe them, or do you need an expert? And what to transcribe and what not to transcribe. Random sampling, again, problems of accent and dialects. If you have random sampling, you may fall into the trap of dialects and accents. You would find your corpus coming just from one accent or from one dialect. Analysis, how to extract useful information automatically. Very important. It's not going to be manually. You're going to check every little sentence, every single sentence. No, you need to have some automated analysis, or automatic analysis. This can be done through having a software, and who is going to design the software for you? Frequency and its derivatives. Frequency of words and the derivatives. Are you going to count, for example, form and information as one word or two words? Go, goes, is it one word or two words? Range. You need to have a wide range of texts coming from different text types. Richness of vocab. Again, you need to make sure that your corpus is rich of vocabulary. Collocational strength. MI and T-score and Z-score. These are some statistical analysis to give you the collocational strength of your corpus. You need to have some collocational strengths. Collocation is which words come, which is coming with which. Collocation are words that come together. For example, you would say, for example, you can say useful information. This is a collocation, a good collocation, a useful piece of information. But you cannot say, for example, a useful idea. You can say it, but it's not a good collocation. Let's have another example. For example, you would say a pretty girl, but you cannot say, less likely to say a handsome girl. A handsome always comes with a boy, so it's not a good collocation to say a handsome girl, but a pretty girl is a good collocation. So to check the strength of your corpus, the collocation strength of your corpus, you need to do some statistical analysis through these T and Z scores. How to relate go, goes, and went lemmatization. Well, this is called lemmatization. Go, goes, and went. They are. It's not derivations. Derivations is different parts of speech, like inform, informant, information. These derivations. But go, goes, went are called lemmatization. How are you going to relate them in your corpus? If you click on the word go, is your corpus going to respond to you with only go, or is it going to give you also goes and went? Concordance, the problem of large numbers, qualitative into quantitative. So the concordance, so if you have your corpus and then you ask your corpus to give you all the examples in the corpus about the word go, you would get some results, some sentences. These are called concordance. So the results, the sentence coming from your corpus, are called concordance. So the problem of large numbers, sometimes you click asking for the word go, you would get thousands, 100,000 of results. So you have a problem with large numbers. Is it going to be qualitative or quantitative? Are you going to quantify them, giving them numbers, or qualitative? You are going to describe them. Go back to my course, Research Methodology. You would know more about qualitative and quantitative. How to distinguish right from right. You have the word right with different meaning. This is very important. Right means correct. Right, no. It means I have the right to say blah, blah, blah. So how are you going to distinguish between these two words in your corpus? Part of speech and other annotation and tagging, also the part of speech. If you want to look for the word slow, is it going to be an adjective or a verb? You want an adjective. Is your corpus going to give you all the examples of slow as an adjective, or is it going to mix all the examples, adjectives and verbs? How to sort and select from a quick listing. This is something not related to our talk today. Accessibility to general users, cost, computers, etc. This is another important issue. If there is a corpus, like for example the British National Corpus, BNC, British National Corpus, is it accessible to general users? No. There is a demo in their website. We are going to see it in lecture number 11. There's a demo. You go to their website and you just try it. But if you want to fully try it or to fully use it, you need to pay. So accessibility to general users, cost, as I said, you need to pay sometimes. Computers, If you are going to use a corpus in your classroom, you need to have computers, blah, 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 and all of these costs. The above issues or repeat for learner corpora, further issues, see ICLE solutions. So all the issues that we talked about are related to learner corpora, something related to learning. What counts as a learner? Information about learner language that is not reflected in a learner corpora. Very important that we have this information. What counts as authentic for learners? We need to define authentic. Do we mean by authentic that we have examples from daily life, examples or language that we need to use every day, so they are matching with the classroom language? So the language that we use in our classroom, in the schools, in the university, is also the same to the language that we use in the street. Is this authentic, or what do you mean by authentic? Apart from L1, what variables would you want to have documented about the students and the task setting for any collection of learner material in a corpus? This all may make a difference, yes. So what are the variables that you want to be documented? Problem, therefore, of comparability of such corpora collected by different people in different countries. Yes, so sometimes if I in Saudi Arabia collect a corpus or make a corpus, it's going to be different maybe from people in Japan and America. Possibility of longitudinal corpora. Yes, sometimes we have a longitudinal corpora. We start from maybe 10 years ago until now, and we continue collecting data for our corpus. Maybe we go for years until maybe 10 years ahead, or 20 years ahead, or 40 years ahead. Long life ourselves. So there is a possibility of having a longitudinal corpus. Contrastive interlanguage analysis. Yes, so if you want to have an analysis of interlanguage or contrasting different languages in one community, in one context, this is possible. Non-native speakers versus native speakers. So NNS means non-native speaker, NS native speaker. To find errors and underuse, but issues of different, comparability of variety. So sometimes you want to compare the language of the non-native speakers with a native speaker to find the errors of the non-native speakers and to analyze them, to see their overuse or underuse of some components of the language. Overuse, sometimes we as Arabs, we repeatedly overusing the word and in our speech. Because in Arabic we use wa, we use it also in English, and. This is very obvious in our speech. So this is one way to make sure that, yes, Arab people overuse the word, and we go to a corpus of Arabic speakers, we analyze them, and we make sure that this is true. Comparability of variety. Yes, if you have different varieties, you want to compare them. Linguistic imperialism, terms like error, overuse. So we want to know the difference between an error and overuse. Is this an error or just overusing the word? But problem of learners' real wishes and lack of information on international proficient speaker of English. So we have this problem of lacking of information about international proficient speaker of English. Again, non-native speakers, when non-native speaker, to distinguish transfer and non-transfer developmental errors. So do we have these transfer errors? We transfer from L1 to L2 our problems, our errors due to the effect of L1. Sometimes L1 is affecting our English language. Sometimes Arabic affects our English language because sometimes we just translate from Arabic into English. Some of the sentences are right, but there would be other problems. So we want to distinguish between these errors that are coming from L1 and errors coming from somewhere else. Comparability, again, you are comparing these two. Parallel L1 corpus of the learners would be useful. So if we have an L1 parallel corpus of L1 would be also useful for that analysis. Computerized error analysis. Yes, we need some software to give us these error analysis. Method 1, think of an error and search for it. Yes, if you want to do a computerized error analysis, you would say, well, are people misuse, for example, the word, for example, agenda, or the word kidney, or the word, for example, opportunity, or the word drag. You think of an error, you go and you search for it in the corpus to make sure. This is method number 1. Method number 2, you tag all errors in corpus and then search for it. If you have a good software to search in the corpus, by just one click, it gives you all the errors and then you search for them. So this is one use of corpus linguistics, is to do these all error analysis tasks or assignments. So this is it for today. We'll continue, inshallah, next class talking about corpus linguistics. Thank you for watching and all the best.